Okay.
You ready to talk?
Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Oh, you muted it there. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Should we take the packs out? Or?
The videographers always tell you just because of the flash.
Oh, this one?
Sometimes it catches the light, especially where you're sitting because there's a downlight right on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Wireless colors, and no stripes, right? See, now, at Cisco, we get big trouble with that shirt.
Yes. Even this one.
Good.
All the mics are on.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Day two of CES. I've got a fantastic set of panelists here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. My name is Praveen. I represent Frost & Sullivan. Very interesting topic we have around data from the automotive industry context. So I'll let everybody introduce themselves with the initial view, and then we'll have a cracking discussion. Go ahead, guys.
Firstly, thank you very much to have me here. My name is Jin Sang. I'm from the GAC R&D Center Silicon Valley office. GAC is stand for, in case you don't know, stand for Guangzhou Automotive Group. It's one of the biggest OEM in China. In 2018, in Fortune Global 500, GAC is in 202. It's a very big OEM. GAC R&D Center is responsible for the GAC own the car model, which we call Chongqi. And Silicon Valley office is the first OEC office of GAC R&D Center. So we start from the April 2017, almost 2 years. Yeah. And because we are in Silicon Valley, yeah, so our major task is to try to combine the IT technology and conventional car technology together, yeah, in the face of current CAV connect automotive vehicle. And in the detail, we have 4 different areas. One is autonomous driving, of course. Second is big data and AI technology. Third one is cybersecurity. And the last one is related to the new energy powertrain. Yeah, so that's probably all from the so about GHC R&D Center Silicon Valley office. For myself, actually, I was spending 10 years to study automotive major in China. But when I come to the States, I changed to the IT industry. Before I joined GAC, I spent 16 years working in Silicon Valley, mainly in networking security areas. I almost work at each of biggest company in security area in Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Does that company have a name?
For example, Juniper, Fortinet, Sonic Wall, Netscreen, and also other company. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I would like to thank Mahbubul and Trillium for having me on the panel. It's great to be with a lot of the colleagues that I've already known before. I'm Ravi Puvala, founder and CEO of Savari. Savari is a V2X company, which stands for Vehicle to Everything Communications. V2X allows cars to talk to each other. We take the data from each car, build crash avoidance technologies. So we're looking forward to make the cars safer. With the collaboration with Trillium, we're actually looking forward to make them secure as well. Thank you.
So, can you hear me? Yes. Hi, I'm Mahbubul Alam. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Senior Vice President at Trillium. First of all, I want to thank all my guests and panelists and for the audience for being here. I know this will be a great, interesting session because we at Trillium believes that data is the new currency for automotive. And what we do at Trillium is we provide Tesla-like cyber physical security and mobility platform for services using blockchain and AI. We are industry's first to bring an immutable data, transparent and trusted platform that is absolutely necessary as the industry evolves towards autonomous vehicle and robotaxi, and as we build trust on machine learning and deep learning technologies. For myself, I'm an entrepreneur. Prior to Trillium, I was in a different entrepreneurship, which was successfully exited. Before that, just like Gene, I have been in the networking industry 14 years, Gene. Also with Fortune 10 or maybe Fortune 50 companies in Cisco Systems, where I was head of Cisco's IoT platforms. And I've been in different roles in Cisco, and prior to that also in Siemens and Nokia. So that gives a little bit background. I'm looking forward to this session. Thank you, Praveen, for moderating it. And I'll pass it on to Barry.
Thank you, Mahbubul. Praveen, thank you, and the Trillium Corporation for this event. I'm Barry Einzig. I am with a company called Kavita. Kavita is the consulting division of Econolite. Econolite is one of the largest traffic management companies in the United States. We build traffic signal controllers, the software associated with them, and we design and deploy those systems. The consulting division where I am is a boutique shop that focuses on connected and highly automated vehicle systems. I have a legacy similar to many of the other panelists here. I have been with Kavita for 4 months. Before that, I was with Cisco as well. Built their transportation practice and stabilized and relaunched the connected and automated vehicle systems portfolio. Our interest in this area is how can we build a data architecture that can be used by all modes of transportation? And of course, as we build that data architecture, security and trust have to be at the root of all of that.
Roger Lanto, Director of Automotive Connected Mobility for Strategy Analytics, and looking forward to participating in the panel.
Thank you, guys. So let's kick this off. I think I'll give you my sense of what we see in this data world. It's, of course, you can, I think, irrespective of your view on whether this is a business to be monetized or not, I think the truth is it's being looked into right now, and looked into several layers. Of course, you can look at the connected car implementations that have happened today, that exist today in the market, and how can what that is generating to be turned into gold, right? And then, of course, everything that's coming, the autonomous onslaught and whatever, whether you call it the shuttle form, robotaxi form, level 3, OEM platforms, all of that. So I think one thing through our conversations with OEMs and with a lot of the community is there is potential, but I think security, consent management, privacy, all of that is like way out of their league, right? So, or way out of their competencies. So I'd like to start maybe with either of you. I probably will start with you, Mahbubul, given your outside of the industry context. Like, where do you see this right now through your interactions?
Wait, before Mahbubul comments, can you clarify, and this is important because we get in these conversations in the industry all the time, are you talking about monetizing or business models built around vehicle-to-vehicle communications, or are you talking about basic telematics cellular connections?
So I'm essentially talking about every data that the vehicle can generate. Telemetry data, location data, my data, your data, everything. Once that connected machine is out on the road, even like that's why I said the autonomous driving context is...
Well, the only reason I'm asking, it's actually quite a controversial issue because a lot of the executives who have been around the V2V DSRC side of the conversation for 10, 15 years, however long, have always wanted there to be a business model, and so that it wasn't just collision avoidance, that there were other applications that could run on that layer, that connectivity proposition. So that's why I was asking the question.
No. So all encompassing. So that's my view. So that's why I think the view was, what should we start looking at first? What is imminent and what is like a little lesser down the road, right? So maybe I'll start with you on that.
Yeah, let me take a shot at this, okay? So the way we look at industry is that industry has 3 inflection points. These are architectural inflection points. There is a connected vehicle, there's an electric vehicle, and there's an autonomous vehicle. And the challenges of each one of them are very different. Whereas in the connected vehicle, it could be more enticing the consumer with maps and infotainment and conversational AI like Alexas and so on. It is very different in the autonomous AV, autonomous vehicle market, where it is necessary to have product improvement, improve safety, and it is needed for operation. Because if you have a robotaxi, which is launched last year and a lot of OEMs are going to launch, it is foundational. Data is foundational to your operation of the business. And
sounds like you're making a distinction between B2B data and B2C data.
Yes, so I'm coming from, exactly. So, and this for people to understand that this is a crossover that comes in. So from nice to have to a must have for business operations in the autonomous vehicle. And in that scenario where basically you need all those sort of data to keep people safe, to build trust before you even build all the other services. So the way we look at it is what we call an island approach. We know today's island is a burning island. And everybody got to get to the island called autonomous vehicle, autonomy. And then there's a bridge between the two islands, which is the connected and EV island that takes you over there. So our approach to data and how we look at it is very different approach as we look for AV, autonomous vehicle, and how we do it, what we can do in electric and connected vehicles. So that gives you a framework of how we are looking. I can go more in details, but I like to have my panelists also chime in and provide that perspective.
Okay, yeah, probably I may add something. Yeah, from my view or from OEM view, right, I think probably we have 2 different roles. One is from the car, from OEM, because we manufacture car, right? For the data, I think probably 2 things. First thing is, first thing is even now we already have is because we need our EV car generate a lot of data. We collect in our own data center, and we do in cloud side. We do some big data analysis. The purpose is the first purpose for us is we try to give our customer, give the driver, the better the experience. For example, when the driver feel they have for the EV car, they have longer the battery driver distance, For example, I give you one very simple case. You know what? The current EV car, for almost each EV, we need to monitor the battery. We use our BMS. But in general, if the SOC, maybe some percentage, for example, 20–30%, we will let the, for example, for the PHEV or hybrid car, right, we will change it to the engine to the conventional engine, not the electric. But, for example, if we know the driver only have 5 miles to reach home, then we can lower the percentage, for example, to the 15%. For the driver experience, he feel, okay, this EV car is better than others because the driver distance is longer. That's all because we use the big data, we monitor the driver behaviors, and we found the solution. That's the first one.
But is somebody going to pay for that data?
You mean the pay data? So currently, I think probably
I'm just trying to say that the data might be valuable, but nobody may want to pay for that.
That probably is other question. For example, related to the privacy or GDPR. But let's think about similar to the Facebook, right? Let's first think about from OEM level. How do we use this data to help our customer and to build our better quality? So that's the first thing. Second thing is probably similar to others. For example, we also collect data in the cloud side, and we do some of the user behaviors and can provide this model to insurance company, right? Like UBI, is from that point. That probably is for the one angle. Second angle is if with OEM, we only provide a platform, and we work with maybe Trillium, maybe other company, to provide data based on the regulation, right? So for that case, we need to build our autonomous driving platform. Because currently almost most data is coming from that platform. That's why OEM also want to own the autonomous driving platform. So that's that.
Everybody's a browser. Everything you do in the car is an indication of you in real time in the car, and they want to. This is the kind of the killer app. We're starting to peel back the secrecy of what drivers and passengers want as they're moving around in vehicles, and I guarantee you that's a $100 billion opportunity in and of itself, and that's why what you're seeing here at this show is there's a battle over that. But do we, as the automotive industry, Praveen and I would represent the automotive industry. Do we want to just hand that to Amazon and Google, or are we going to insert ourselves and control that because we need to know what our customers are doing and what they're thinking, what they want?
So on that front, I think this is a very interesting because Roger brings up a very important point. The browser and the search industry is well quantified, qualified, and well-developed ecosystem. And definitely bring it into the car would definitely help. So we have those B2C, business to consumer type of things, but there is definitely the other aspect of improving quality, providing. So what we at Trillium has done is we have classified data into 6 categories. And the businesses and the dynamics of the 6 categories are very different. On one side, we have type 1, we call it the personal information data. This is your PIA. Another category that we have, which is really around safety and smart city, traffic management, that is that should not be owned by the OEM. It should be given to the cities so that law enforcement and traffic management can better route the traffic and do the things. There's another set of data that we have identified that is for teleoperation. If you're doing autonomous vehicle and you need to operate in a real time and provide a human behind the AI, you need a different, those are different type of real time, ultra low latency data. Then there is another one which is called cross domain. And the cross domain data is something that we are looking at, which is basically at a higher level that should not be controlled by the OEM. That should be the benefit for the consumers. So things that is applicable to all the consumers, irrespective of the make and model of the car. So these are the six different categories, and the use cases that are driven and the dynamics of each one are very different, and the business models are very different. So that's the way we're looking at it.
I want to expand on what Mahbubul just said. You know, if you look at the telemetry data, today is proprietary, right? One of the things that V2X has done is to standardize the data exchange format between cars and the infrastructure, right? So if we are looking at creating a universal framework about what data could be used between smart cities, between auto OEMs, you cannot do it unless there is a standardization framework. So one of the achievements of V2X, more than the radio technology and the safety, is actually the common data language that everybody can understand, and so that forms the basis of how we can build applications and algorithms. The first application is definitely safety, right? We look at crash avoidance, but it also creates the scenario about what this data could be utilized from making the different levels of automation, level 2 to level 3. That's where when the autonomous cars start to rely on this data, they have to define the security boundaries and say, hey, if I'm trying to accept the data, I'm no longer autonomous, I have a dependency outside of my car, but I need to do it in a secure, contained environment, right?
Have you...
Sorry.
Have you
That's
been,
my way.
Wow.
Sorry about that. So just to build on that, Ravi, I completely agree with that point. I think the challenge that we have right now is that nobody here at CES is excited about the basic message sets that we have available in that standard exchange. This exchange needs to be broadened out much wider so that it can meet the needs of the B2B, the B2C, all the B2B to C, and I think that's where we're struggling right now. And in my mind, we need to do what we did for the internet, where we took the IP stack and we defined this stack. We need a mobility stack that says these are all the elements that are common within the mobility stack and shareable across everybody that wants to share them within the rights that you have to share those capabilities. And if we do that, then we can actually advance agendas for business models or whoever wants to move in which direction. And we have applications that are similar to that today. Google Transit Feed does that for the transit industry today. It's a baseline, but it became the common architectural data standard across all of transit. The SWIM program within the Federal Aviation Administration does exactly the same thing. So we can build these type of capabilities, but it's a broader set of standards across exactly what you said in the exchange. Sorry, Roger, never meant to cut you off.
Probably I add one point. As I think the things, the project, there are two things related to the AI. One in AI, one is called common ground, another is called closed domain. Because we talk about the closed domain, which means we need to build a common interface, but also concern about the privacy. But for the common ground is another dimension. It means the communication is not mechanical things. It need to be intelligent. It's like human to human, or intelligent to intelligent talking each other. So that's the two way. One is so we need the V2X communication is more intelligent. Second is we still need to concern about the privacy, the common ground.
What's interesting about B2V is that the protocols have been put into place to provide for a secure communication proposition between vehicles, which never took place on the telematics cellular side. And it may well be that we start rethinking the cellular connection in the context of what we've done for V2V to have a similarly secure kind of connection with vehicles.
So the protocol also does not prohibit you to exchange the same data format over cellular, right? I mean, we have two forms of cellular V2X, which is direct communications and also going over the network, right? But if we allow the same data format to be exchanged, that becomes the common ground, and it also allows, the protocol also has inherent strength, which is it protects the privacy of the users, the drivers, because there is nothing, the data coming out of the car can be correlated to the driver, right? That's very important. The second thing is that when we aggregate the data for smart cities or smart infrastructure, we can make a lot of improvements in terms of how the traffic flow can happen. right? So there's a lot of good foundation that can be built in tops of, how the data getting collected, how the data is getting generated. But I think the most interesting part is that how do we take advantage of the existing telematics cloud, where we have 40 million vehicles today that are capable to connect to the network, right? And the data format coming from these cars is proprietary. If V2X can change that mechanism, how telemetry data can be based on V2X, then we have a common ground about how the business models can be built and who is the beneficiary and who's paying for it.
Very interesting. I just want to switch gears slightly. So, to your point, starting with your point, sorry, I think this entire data game, of course, you can talk about where Alexa, where Google will start, where Google will end. But trust me, if you start looking at Amazon, they sell motor oil today. They sell maintenance packages. They've started selling cars online in the UK. To me, and ultimately, whether it's Alexa or Google, customers will decide. And that's what is happening in the home environment. Customers have already given a verdict. They love it. They interact with it. And so what they do with it is, of course, that comes later. That's the behemoth that comes later, inside the car. So I think to your point, and of course I love your views, is what should an OEM be prepared for to stay relevant? And I ask that because, okay, you can take pieces of OEMs today like GM. They're trying some experiments. Of course, revenue-based experiments, trying to make money out of it, not just float this around as an experiment. So how do you think OEMs should be prepared? Of course.
I would like everybody to point out is a great book called $0 Car. It was written by one of the ex-CEOs of Ford. He talks about like how you can build a car for free. I mean, I think it's an extremely wild idea, but it's got the tentacles about like if the car is generating terabytes of data, there should be somebody willing to pay for it. Eventually, that means the car, you can drive it for free, right?
Okay, I gave that book a lovely review, and I like John Ellis, and I think it's a very important perspective. But I think what we're seeing here with Alexa and Google Voice, but mainly with Alexa, is the integration of voice with safety. So when I rent a Subaru, which has lane keeping, and I don't signal my turns, and I'm fighting with the steering wheel, why can't Alexa tell me, you failed to signal, and we're trying to correct your path because you're straying from the lane? Alexa is being integrated, so you can see that in the Electrobit booth, with safety systems. And they're talking about building Alexa into the human-machine interface, the HMI, for level 3 autonomous driving systems to help you understand where you can drive, where you can't do autonomous driving, when you have to take control, so that it isn't just images on the screen. Alexa is talking to you, and I jumped in because I want to get the perspectives of the other people on the panel, because I think we may be able to do away with all those call centers that are sitting there very expensively answering phones when something terrible happens with the car, because a lot of the things that do happen can be interpreted from the data in the vehicle. And you could have a proactive communication with the driver. You don't have to make the driver press a button. And I think everybody understands what I'm saying, and so I don't have to go into any more detail, but we're maybe pressing a stupid button, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I think that's, is a very confused question. For example, so we want the car more intelligent, which means the car should know you better, which means car may know your some privacy, some behaviors. But suppose the purpose is to let you be happy or get more things. I think it's similar. For example, currently, so we can hire the driver, right? So we can have a driver for the community. Then, after 1 month, 2 months, the driver definitely knew your personal life better, right? But for example, if the driver become one the company, right? Someday the company want to charge driver for you. he must have some list to say, Roger, what's your some kind of behavior, right? For example, in the morning, so you like coffee in the car. That kind of thing is your privacy. But suppose they want to give you better service. Yeah, so that's why I think there's still two things. One thing is, so we do everything to make the car more intelligent. That's the right things. On this track, probably, yeah, they do need to collect your data. Also, maybe your family data. Yeah, so that's probably the purpose to have a better product, better things. Yeah, so that's the one thing I believe so we need to do. Second thing is similar to the GDPR. We still need to have something to regulate. That's your personal data, right? That's why so we need some structure, some new functionality, new architecture. In case you want to delete your data, you want to limit your data, then can fully to satisfy your requirement. Yeah.
So I want to change the topic a little bit, but approach it from a very different angle. So here we are talking about monetization of the data, type of data, and you may ask, this moment in time, why is it going to take off in a way that we all believe, some of us believe? I believe there is another dimension that we are overlooking, which is a demographic dimension. So maybe not very aware with a lot of people that 66% of the global populations are millennials and Generation Z, younger. So the type of people sitting here don't fit that model. So we are building it for them. Right? So this generation that is coming, that are at workplace right now, millennials, and the Z that is coming in, they are growing up in a very different mentality. Their consumption model is much more sharing, much more caring. I have very much hope for the next generation than the generation that we are. So in this generation, their disposable income is less. They are used to the ride sharing, car sharing. So what is going to happen is the amount of vehicle that will be sold will reduce, but the amount of mileage will increase. And the cars are going to have multiple personas. You will carry your persona to the car. So your profile, your data. So this is all changing at a very rapid pace. So it's not linear anymore, because within 5 years, over 55% of the working population is going to be millennial and Generation Z. And they are the one who is going to decide what we are building today. So I believe we are at that critical inflection point. That is the demographic inflection point. That is the consumption model. That is also influencing why there is this acceleration of database safety, database services, database convenience, whether it's gesture-based, conversational AI like Alexas and so on. I think this is just the start, but we are heading very quickly towards that era.
I'd like to dig a little bit more into your question about what the OEM should do, because I think there's a fundamental challenge. I agree with what you're saying, but the challenge that the OEMs have is they're the Dell or the gateway of the computer systems today, right? They're unconnected. They don't actually sell directly to the end customer. They don't have the connectivity in the comms. So if you thought about it back when you bought your computer, when you went out and found an ISP, when you went to your comms provider, right? We're sort of in that era with OEMs right now. When I buy an automobile, when any of us buys an automobile, unless you buy it directly from Tesla online, you're dealing with a dealer. And typically when you go into that dealer, they have 4 or 5 logos on the front of their building, right? They don't have a single dealer. Or if they have a single dealer, the dealer next door is also theirs in case you didn't want to buy the Ford, you wanted to buy the Chevy, right? So if OEMs are going to win and survive in this, they have to change their relationship with their dealer organizations to get more intimate with their customers. And if they can't get more intimate with their customers, that's the disaggregation point that somebody is going to disintermediate, which is really what you were trying to say with, right? And that disintermediation is really going to happen very quickly because they don't know how to handle that. You know, they don't handle reuse of OnStar subscriptions well, or any of the other services, right? When they expire or the free service goes away, people just cancel those services. The other piece of it that they have to figure out is, are they willing to invest some dollars, similar to the way Tesla has, to get the predictive health maintenance data? Telematics is sort of that antique term that doesn't really convey what they're trying to accomplish, but really enough data out of the systems to give you that common context to be able to build the predictions and the algorithms around that. Well, if you're not willing to pay for the connectivity on a monthly basis to the car, and you're not willing to work some agreement with your end consumer out, how are you going to get access to that data to do that in the first place? So they have a couple of fundamentals that are not that far or that difficult to accomplish that are within their wheelhouse to do today.
I think that is an interesting point, and I think we are getting closer. Oh, 10 minutes, okay. Because I think the way to look at it, one way to look at it might be also, so to your point of batteries, electric vehicles. That's, of course, there's one OEM that's selling a lot right now. But we then generally don't know, we keep using range anxiety, whatever, but we are getting close to average of 300 miles range. And if you look into 300 miles range, that's actually a little more than what you can do the math with a conventional comparison. So the point is, maybe the idea here is, to your point, Barry, like you let the searches and all those things go to the Amazons and the Googles, whereas I can, as an OEM, how to build a better product, how do I build a better battery, a charging experience.
Here,
Sure.
what you're talking about is the value of the data is much greater to the supply chain and to the OEM than it is to the consumer, or even to the smart city. And even if it were valuable to the smart city, the smart city has no money to spend on this data. So that's why I say the embedded connection in the car is there for customer retention purposes, okay, fundamentally. And the automakers still haven't figured that one out, okay? It's there to retain that customer, because it's much cheaper to retain the customer than it is to acquire a new customer. But the customer doesn't want to pay for the connection in the car. So this is the challenge that we have, that nobody wants to pay a subscription except for Sirius XM. Everybody seems to want to pay for that. 30 million people are paying for that. But the data is the fundamental value is there from a standpoint of retaining the customer, understanding how the vehicle is performing, understanding the electric vehicle performance, where the charging stations need to be. Is there any degradation? I understand there isn't actually very much degradation in the battery. How frequently are people doing fast charging? Where do those stations need to be? What are the behavior aspects around that? So it's more important to us as an industry than it is to the consumer. And so when it comes to monetization, that is the challenge that we're facing. We should take on that responsibility within our own ecosystem, and not put that burden on the consumer.
I was wondering if we could add on to some of these subscriptions. Like we have, you mentioned Sirius XM. We have subscriptions from the telematics modems, which is OnStar and others. And then we have the lease that most of us, pay to the auto OEM, right? I wonder if a lot of these recurring, payments can be attached to some of the data service models that we've been talking about, and say, hey, if you do this, you give up your data or whatever it is, then your payments are reduced, right?
Well, I mean, just think about what's possible and the insanity that we've seen, right? So GM had the ignition switch recall, and they can't find the cars. They can't find the owners. Oh, but you have a connection in those cars, right? You have a modem in there, right? But you can't find those cars and those owners. I mean...
GPS, we have GPS.
It is absolute insanity, because they forced them to pay a subscription, and they said, not interested.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if we motivate them to continue their subscriptions in return to some services, right? I mean, like GM, the cost of finding the consumer is so high. If they could let them find a way to pay for the subscription, but they're incentivized by other means.
It's true, because see, again, I agree partly with Roger's views of, I think the industry in itself has not taken the entire realm of what the full stretch of connected services can do, right? And if today I'm retaining 20% of customers, if that goes to 40, what that means in terms of incremental dollars. Simply put, if I get one customer to come back to me after 3 years to my dealer for a repair, that's all profit. That all goes to my bottom line. It's not, because, but I think the truth is, kind of coming to the theme of this discussion, we are fast reaching 100% connected new car fleet. Let's not. I don't think there's.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. So with that kind of massive potential, right? Let's just focus on the U.S. market. That's about a little north of 16 million cars or whatever. So okay. And I think to your point, Ravi, I think most OEMs are starting to look at what are the low-hanging fruits to monetize, and in a sense, tell the customers you don't have to pay me anything. I have other ways in which I will generate the money here, right? So in order for this transition to happen and I'm going to borrow your term, the trusted data platform and that trusted experience, what do you think needs to happen there? I think that's a good closing remark that I'd like to hear from each of you. What do you think it needs to happen at that front for a customer to be engaged? Because today, the success of the Alexas or the Googles is the fact that the customers are engaged in that loop.
Give me a portal where I can see my own vehicle data and where I can have some control over what data I am sharing. And then...
So you are essentially saying, let's do a GDPR over here. Or
the equivalent of that, sure. That's the idea. But transparency, trust, opting in, control. Mm-hmm. So transparency and control confers trust to the consumer. Then they feel, okay, I don't want to share that data, but maybe next week I will. But I have a platform where I can do that. Problem solved.
Okay.
And I echo what Roger is saying, and that is exactly what we are doing at Trillium, because in order to give that control and the trust and the data is immutable, we have found a clever way of introducing blockchain, which makes sure that if you are opted in, we have a record keeping that is immutable, and you can have a new ledger, your new opt-in, opt-out, but everything is kept so that if you do data forensic and later go verification, you can find everything clear. So I believe that what Roger is saying, consumers need to have control over their data. They need to have the flexibility when they want something or when they don't want. It's not opt-in, opt-out one time for lifetime. It is that flexibility, but also to make sure that those record keepings are kept in a trusted manner and can be verified. And that's why we believe that the trusted AI, trusted services, trusted privacy is the way forward. And that's the reason why we believe that we have to move away from secure platform to a trusted platform. And the attributes were mentioned: transparency, verification, immutability, and so on.
Yes, I think from customer view, for me also, so I need my own data can be traceable, and also transparent for me who use my data, who look at my data, and in case some days, right, so I want to limit it or want to delete it, right, I think that's true. And and also from the customer view, right, I would think the car is same as a computer, right? Yeah, same as like you mentioned, the browser or computer. I have the same requirement as my own office computer. I think that's understandable. Yeah, and but I think also it's a good chance for OEM, because OEM also want to build a car, right? To let the car more intelligent, like a mobile office. So that also give OEM a good chance to upgrade to have the new or better architecture functionality to reach traceability, the data control. Yeah, so I think that also is acceptable for OEM. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to expand on what Roger said about the control by the consumer. If the control of the consumer allows the marketplace to bid for the data, so we have two types of marketplaces: the safety guys who are focused on insurance, and the mobility guys, the Googles and Amazons of the world, right? If the consumer has a mechanism to allow these companies, the insurance companies, to bid for his data to offer them better premiums, and Googles and Amazons of the world to allow them to make better services, right? I think then there is a platform, there is a marketplace for people to thrive. There is a mechanism to exchange what the user is willing to give up and what the other business is willing to pay for it.
I want to expand on what you were saying also, Roger, in that context. You know, we have models for this already of what the OEM should be doing to change this. They're imperfect. I'll acknowledge that up front. But, you know, when I bought my last vehicle, I had an email from Sirius Satellite before I got home, right, to subscribe. If I buy a new house and somebody else had lived there before and there's an alarm system in there, I will get a call from that alarm system company within the week, right? And whoever my cable provider will make sure I get a call. So maybe that's a repurposing of those call centers that you want to disaggregate, because I think ultimately it's that new, more proactive business model to become that trusted provider. Right now, we don't buy our vehicles from our OEMs. So this is a new experience for them. And if they don't take it on, it's a threat to them, right? So they either jump into the pond and try to figure out how to build these services, or they're going to have somebody else build these services on their behalf and push them out of the customer relationship piece.
And I think with that, we are on time. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for taking the time, and thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.